Welcome everyone to this week's Life Conversations with a Twist. I am super excited to have Erika Warner on today. Me and her have been playing phone or back and forth to try to get this podcast scheduled, but I'm really excited to have her on the podcast today and hear her story. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. And finally, we made it work. It's always a game with time difference, but here we are.
Yeah, we were just talking before we hit record about the time difference, and I love that I get to talk to women all over the world, but definitely the time difference always kind of gets to us sometimes. So, but you're coming from us. Where are you at today?
So right now, today, I am in Spain, Palma de Mallorca. This is the island where I grew up. So more time difference with the States right now. But I normally live in Idaho.
So tell the listeners a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we're just going to dive into your story.
Well, now that I'm in Spain, I can tell you how everything came to be with my company and my vocation. My native language is Spanish, of course. You can tell by my accent.
Beautiful, by the way. I love a beautiful
Yeah.
Latina accent.
It's fun. When I was 22nd, I went to the States to perfect my English because I had just basic English and I graduated. So I went to Colorado and say, this is my time. I'm finally going to learn English. And I went there to study with a J1 visa, which is a visa for intercultural exchange. And my first day of class.
How old were you at this time, did you say?
22.
22. And you went by yourself?
I went by myself, all by myself. And I was young, so my brain was good still at absorbing new information. And this is key in the story because that was my only job. I went to learn English. This is my only job. I am 22. I don't have a mortgage or anything complicated like a husband or kids.
Yeah.
And I'm here with my visa. And my first day of class, it was a nonprofit for ESL, which English as a second language. So it's the free classes that normally the cities have to help immigrants that don't speak English. And on my first day of class, I went super excited. And then I found out that I was the only young person there because all of my classmates were in their 40s and their 50s, and they were coming to class after work with their uniforms. They were coming before work, or they were coming with their kids. And I don't know, I just have a humbling experience because I saw them. They were so cute and so inspiring for me because I was like, wow, this is easy for me because I'm young and I don't have any responsibilities. But for them, this is crazy difficult. And here they are. So that was the day that I decided I was going to become an ESL teacher because I just saw, I had never felt so inspired by a group of people like I was that day. So I said, you know what? I finally found my vocation. I'm going to learn English because, small fact, I didn't speak it at the time. But I was like, I'm going to learn it. And after I learn it, I am going to become an ESL teacher to help my immigrants in the States.
I love that. So how long do you think that you learned, how long did it take for you to learn English that you really felt confident and were fluent in it?
So up to this point, I've been learning all my life, right? But I feel like I wasn't serious. And that day when I became serious, it took me around, I will say 9 months to 12 months to feel fluent by any standards on the phone or with any person. But I was very serious. I took it super seriously, and I was studying 5 to 7 hours a day. So it's not the same amount of time for everybody. I went to school and I got a linguistics degree so I could teach better. I wanted to take it very seriously. I'm going to get a whole degree in English, and I'm going to add that to my experience as a English language learner myself. And I have found out that it actually takes around 400 to 500 hours of serious study time for a Spanish speaker to learn English, because the hours vary depending on your home, your native language. So 400 to 500 hours. Now, every person will invest different hours. So it's going to, the exact time is going to be different. So I was investing a lot of time, so I learned faster. But there are
Mhm.
people who can only invest 1 hour or 2 hours a day.
Yeah. I have so many questions for you. So, I was born and raised here in California. So, born,
Ooh,
never left. I remember in high school, it was mandatory for us to take Spanish. So, I took Spanish for 2 years and I literally know zero. I know like the basics. I actually
hola.
understand it more. But my husband is Latino. So, and we have a
Oh,
4-year-old.
really?
And so now it's like he's fluent in both. And our poor little son is he only knows English because that's what we speak, with my other
Right,
children, and obviously being in California, that's what we mostly
right.
speak. But now they have these schools where they just teach them Spanish, and but it's like a lottery to get in. It's so hard to get in
Oh,
these
yes,
schools.
yes. Yes, it's true. Being bilingual is like one of the best gifts,
Mhm.
like for a child, even for an adult, like especially these two languages, specifically English and Spanish. They just open more than like 60% of the world's population when you can be bilingual in these two languages.
Why do you think? So you came from Spain, so that's where you grew up.
Mhm.
As you're growing up, like I'm always curious to hear everybody's story, like why people want to come to why they want to come to the United States and why do they want to learn English and why do they want to
Mhm.
be so immersed in our culture? Or
I
maybe
feel like
what was your why behind it?
I can tell you the general idea and I can tell you my personal one. First of all, everybody just knows about the States
Mhm.
because of culture, movies, and music. Like everybody knows like Madonna, and everybody knows Hollywood. So a lot of people are really just attracted to, you know, the glamour and Hollywood and the American dream. I feel like everybody at the beginning is attracted by this.
Mhm.
But then gets more specific than that, then it becomes survival thing for a lot of people because of problems. I was actually born in Colombia. So in the 90s, half of Colombia left and went to the United States, and the other half came to Europe. And I was the one that came to Europe. But uh, safety becomes one of the main reasons. And for me specifically, I left Colombia to come to Europe, so I was already cool and safe. But in my specific case, I met a guy in college who was from Idaho.
I
So
was like, there
I
it is.
there it is. For
There.
me, it was love. For me, it was love.
Yeah.
I
I definitely don't want to get into politics at all. But
no.
it's stories like this that really touch me and my husband as well. Like coming over to this country when you were younger. I mean, you were a little bit older, but most immigrants are coming over with their families when they're little.
Yes,
Like
I came to Europe when I was 9, and that's just like the typical.
what normal and you just named like a couple of the reasons why people want to be here. And now, you guys are being forced out, and it just it's those stories that really bother me because it's like real true people want to be here and want to thrive here, and obviously the work that you're doing now is such a huge thing, and it's like it just yeah it bothers me a lot because it shouldn't be that way, but anyways, we
I
can't change
totally
it.
get it. I totally get it. And believe me, I live it every day. I have students from especially South America. So
So you learn English, you love it, you're like I'm going to teach it.
yeah,
So you were in Idaho, right?
yeah, yeah.
And then you met your husband.
Mhm. I met him here in Spain first. He came to study Spanish. And
Uh,
I was studying English, so we were like the perfect match. We were going to practice our languages. And then,
there you go. I love that
I
story.
know
Do you have
we
kids too?
we have two children. Yes, we have two boys.
And what is your language of like what do you speak at home?
Okay, so I have been very lucky because my husband speaks Spanish very well. So we made our home our little nook, like a little Spanish kingdom, because
Mhm.
they're going to be exposed to English everywhere else.
Yep.
So we actually speak Spanish at home. So they are pretty good. They speak both languages, and it's not easy. There was a point there when my son was 4 that his Spanish was 0, that I was like, this is not working. It's not, he refuses to speak Spanish. He doesn't want to, he's not interested. But I found out, as in everything in life, like, you know what, and we're gonna keep doing it. And one day he just like, not with me, but one day somebody asked him something in Spanish and he gave a full answer with words I had no idea he knew how to say. And I was like, oh, it was like the best present, or like sweet, sweet words to my ears when I heard him speak Spanish for the first time. And I found out that he does speak, but not with me,
Oh.
because he knows he has another option. So
Oh.
I found out that it's important that I expose him to other people that also speak Spanish. So he does go to one of those bilingual schools.
He does. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I
that helps a lot.
We really hope our 4-year-old can get into it at some point because unfortunately we just don't speak it enough. Like my husband is fluent, but it's not something we speak in our own home. My
Mm.
stepdaughter, she got like top of the class in her high school because she took all the Spanish classes, and my daughter is starting to take all the Spanish classes too. So I'm like, okay, well maybe y'all can teach me because I remember when I met my husband, he was
What
like,
is he from, by the way? What
he's from
country?
Acapulco area.
Okay, okay, okay.
So southern Mexico.
Okay.
And I was like, I need to learn because I go to, dinners and stuff. And I was like, I have no idea what they're talking about. And so
Right.
at the time, this was like 9 years ago, I was really excited. And I went to the JC and I, enrolled in a Spanish class. It was so hard for me to learn.
It's frustrating,
It is
yes.
so frustrating. And I just gave up because I was like, it's so hard. And everyone says the older you get, the harder it is. And it sounds like that is the truth. What is like, I mean, everybody learns different and again, it's how many hours you put in, but what do you think like the sweet spot is of to really like when our brains can really like learn enough
25.
language? What is it?
25.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
25, and is not necessarily harder, but it is different. There is a
mhm.
different approach the way you learn from 0 to 25. I'll make it simple. When we are 0 to 25, we are learning in kind of like a bare, an empty canvas, right? Like you can put anything in and you learn it from scratch. But by the time we turn 25, our cognitive acquisition, like the language skills or any skill, not just English, anything that we're going to start learning, is not from nothing. We have to base it or like put it on something else. It's called familiarization. I talk about that with my students a lot, because we have to learn a new skill using
Mhm.
the memory and the tools that we have from other skill that is similar to this new skill, if that makes sense. It's like if you
Yeah.
go ski, when we go skiing as adults, it's hard, but then we help ourselves. We say, well, I know how to walk, I know how to
Mhm.
skate, I know, and then we try to use those other skills. While the little kids, they're just go and like learn from scratch. So in language, this is very important, because the only language we know is our native language. So in many programs that are immersion programs, they tell us you cannot speak your own language. It's forbidden. We're going to do full immersion. And full immersion, not, it doesn't always work 100%, because it's like we take away the only knowledge that they have. If I tell you,
Mhm.
okay, talk to me about this book or politics in Spanish, you have nothing, you have zero.
Mhm.
I have to help you first with some tools. I have to help you with some words. So it really is important to have a support on something that is familiar to us as adults in order to build something new. So for example, in my ESL programs, I actually explain very difficult concepts in Spanish. And then once that explanation is in, they understand it, then we're going to practice it in English. We don't go straight to practice
Mhm.
without understanding. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's very interesting. What is like most of your students, what is their age range? Like
They're older. They're
I'm going to be 43. Like am I screwed and I'm never going
perfect.
to
No, no, sweet spot. All my students are 40 to 60, and they all come to me with that same exact mentality of, it's too late for me, I'm too old. And I say, it's not too late and you're not too old. You just need to learn in an approach, in a way that is meant for your age, because you are not a kindergartner, you are not a high schooler. So we also have to learn with topics that are interesting for your age, right?
Interesting. Yeah. So interesting. People, I always ask my husband, he thinks learning English was harder than speaking Spanish because of all of our, our crazy language
Phonics.
with like all the theirs and,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on like what language was easier?
I don't try to be polemic, but I think English is easier and Spanish is more difficult.
I see, I
I
agree to
do.
that too.
Yeah.
Like the changing of the masculine and the feminine, like
Yes.
just throws me off every single time.
Simple example. Okay, so this is the one main difference if we can reduce it, like summarize it in one thing, is everything in English is easy in the way that is the same as in Spanish in organization. So
Mm,
syntax is the same, grammar is the same. There is only one thing that is completely different, which is pronunciation and phonics. So because this one thing is different, everybody says English is crazy and English is impossible. No, this one item is different from Spanish, but the other things are the same. So
mm,
syntax is the same. The order of how you do subject, project, everything, adverbs, all that is the same. Grammar is the same. But we are very negative. Like I always tell my student, you are focusing on the one thing that doesn't work when there are 10 things that do work. You know why? Is that an excuse not to learn? But Spanish is objectively more difficult than English because we have more tenses.
mm.
We have pretty much double the tenses. Like English, I can communicate in present, past, and future, and I can get by, I can
Yeah.
get by very, very well. Spanish have tenses that don't even exist in English, and we have to learn to use them. And how do I learn something that doesn't exist in my language? That's why I believe Spanish is more difficult, because there are things that we have in Spanish that I cannot say. This red is rojo, yellow is amarillo. There is always something, but there are tenses in Spanish that you don't have in English. I cannot explain it to you because they don't exist. English is more efficient
Mm.
and compact. People fight with me about this, but we have to analyze in linguistics, it's English and Spanish. We have to study every language to detail, and Spanish is more detailed.
Friends, I have such an exciting product that I need to share with you. Are you someone who hates washing their face at night? Yep, that's me. For years, I never wanted to wash my face. And finally, I found a product that actually gets me excited to wash my face every night, and that is Clear Stem. I have tried so many products over the years to find the one that I truly love, the one that makes my skin glow, the one that makes me feel good when I wash it, and the one that gets me excited to want to wash my face. I discovered Clear Stem through another podcaster, and I was like, I got to give this a try. I instantly became obsessed. Some of my favorite products are the hydrating cleanser, which I use every night. It smells delicious. It makes my skin feel so great. Once a week, I use their Vita Scrub, which is an exfoliating cleanser, and that just has these little micro beads in it that just make your face feel so beautiful. I can just feel them get into my pores and really give my face this huge glow. And then one of my other favorite products is the Hydra Berry mask. And once you wash your face, you put a layer of this on your skin and you go to sleep and you wake up and your face feels like butter. I get so many compliments on my skin now. I don't get a lot of breakouts anymore. My face feels like nice and hydrated and bright, and it's all because of the Clear Stem product. What I love about them is that their products are all clean. They're good for your skin, they're good for your body, and they have so many different product lines based on the type of skin you have. So go down in the show notes, click on the link. I'm giving 15% off to anybody who uses my code, and I promise you, once you try this, you are going to be obsessed just as much I am. So again, go down to the show notes, click on the link, receive 15% off, and give Clear Stem a try. I promise you will not regret it.
Well, and isn't there like so many different types of Spanish? Like my husband is always like, oh, the way they speak Spanish, they're from like, Mexico and like Southern America. Or you have people in Europe that speak
Yeah.
Spanish from Spain, and it's very different. Is that true?
Yeah, and varies a lot, but I could say it's the same in English if we meet a person from South Africa or Australia, but we can understand each other, right? But just that there are little things. That's why I'm also a big proponent, a big fan of like neutral language. Like we're gonna learn the most neutral words in Spanish that work in any country, and same with English, like let's learn more. Like I'm not a big fan of like people want to learn like street Spanish, but like street, what street? Because it's going to change a lot depending if you are in Cancun or Madrid. Like what street are we talking about? I prefer the more like dictionary polite Spanish because it's going to be understood by most people. And people think that it's kind of like boring, but we're looking for communication, which is the only purpose of language. If I learn a very specific word from Acapulco, I cannot use it in Argentina or in Spain or in Colombia. But if I learn a word that works in all countries, I'm going to be able to communicate with more people. And that is the goal. Communication is the only goal of language,
Do you know any other languages, or have you put
So in Mallorca, where I live, Spanish is not the main language. Actually, it's Mallorquin is called, which is similar, if somebody from Spain is listening to me, similar, I'm sorry, not the same, to Catalan, which is the language that they speak in Barcelona and all that area.
Okay.
So I grew up listening to this language. I'm not a big fan. I can understand everything. I can write, I can say things, but it's just not in my heart, this language. I'm sorry, guys. And I lived in Russia for a long time, so I know basic Russian. That one I do want to learn, but that one's even harder. So I learned all the basic Russian, the alphabet, the numbers, basic stuff. And I'm a language student. I'm always learning. I'm learning always Italian and Russian. Those are the two languages that I have basic knowledge that I want to arrive to fluency,
So cool. Okay, so you learn Spanish. I mean, you learn English. You love it. You're like, now I'm going to teach it. What were the steps what did you do next? Like, how did you become a teacher? How did you get students? I would love to hear your journey through that.
Okay. First, preparation, of course. I am not a person, like I am a nerd, like I'm very like, if I'm going to do something, I have to have proper certifications. Like I'm a square. I am like type A.
Yep.
So I say I'm not going to teach English just because I speak it. If I'm going to teach it, I need to know the ins and outs of this language, because there are many English teachers that are just native speakers. And just because you're a native speaker doesn't mean that you can teach it. Like you're a native speaker of English, your English is perfect. But if I come as a student and I ask you, hey, Heather, can you explain to me why the present, like the perfect tense, uses the participle and I cannot just use the past simple? Why?
And I'm going to be like, I have no idea.
And I'm like, what? I say, why do I have to say I have gone and I cannot say I have went? Why? Like there are these things, and these are the kind of questions that students want to ask. So first step, full knowledge, like education. It's always the first step. So I went ahead and I got my degree, and then I got my certification, and then I wanted to learn experience in real life. So I actually did a lot of ESL teaching in South America and in Russia and in Spain, because I want to learn real life experience. And then I wanted to teach everywhere. I taught everywhere, Heather. You can ask me like primary school, private school, library, nonprofits, universities. I wanted to really master this skill. So I taught for many years before I started my own company. Wow. And I was teaching in Idaho in a nonprofit, and I loved it, and it was wonderful. But I wanted to niche down to only Spanish speakers, because in classrooms for ESL, we have all mixed up. So I have students that spoke Arabic, Chinese, Spanish, and Russian. And sometimes I have to like narrow down to get a point across. So I said, you know what? I love everybody, of course. I miss very much my Arabic speakers. But I said, you know what? If I want to make a difference, I want to focus on my people. That's why the name of my company is English for My People. And I said, I'm going to focus only on Spanish speakers. Also, we are like the #1 minority in the States. So I said, I'm going to write programs based on all this experience only for Spanish speakers. I'm going to focus on that. So I started writing programs for beginners of native Spanish speakers. And then I started to try them down for free with volunteers. I was like, do you want to learn English for free? I have a program. Can you try it? And it was wonderful. People helped me out. They didn't pay, but for 1 year, I opened a Facebook group for 1 year. And I said, I teach English for free every Tuesday, 10 a.m., Facebook Live, come. And people started coming, tons of people. Like the group became bigger and bigger. And I was teaching for free, and I was listening and writing down and making it perfect before I was going to go ahead and sell it, So I did that for a long time. I like slow process. That's like my style.
And now everything is virtual.
Now everything is virtual.
And what do your programs look like? Like, how long are they?
So now I wanted to meet in person in Boise, but then it turned out I had like 2 students from Boise, 54 in Florida, New York, and Orlando. So I was like, okay, virtual is the way. We now, after the pandemic, we are like, yeah, we know Zoom.
Yep.
Let's do Zoom.
Sometimes.
Zoom came to save us.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to keep only online programs. Right now, I have 2 ways to learn with me. We have a very affordable product, and we have our intensive classes. So our affordable product is like a membership. It's like Netflix. It's affordable. It's $24. You study by yourself. You have classes for your everyday life in the States as an immigrant. So you have classes for getting a doctor appointment, or getting new glasses, or cutting your hair. Very specific situations.
The basic things.
Situations, the basics. But we call it situations for immigrants because there are specific situations that an immigrant has to go through that there is no English for in books, like getting your social security card for the first time as an adult, or going to your immigration, or becoming a US citizen. And all those things are very specific for immigrants. So I have classes of English for those specific situations. And then I have the standard beginner, intermediate, and advanced English classes. So those are the 2 ways people can choose to learn with me.
And the more in-depth one, how long do typically your students stay in the program for?
So when we do the in-depth courses, it's 3 months per level. So we have beginner level is 3 months, then intermediate level is 3 months, then advanced level is 3 months, and then the ultimate fluency is 3 months. In theory, if they stay with me for a year, around 14 months, they are going to be able to, this is important, continue their learning journey by themselves. They're not going to speak English perfectly fluently, because we never do. But now you know so much that you are going to actually learn in the streets, interacting with your boss, interacting with your neighbors. And now you understand the basic questions like, why does this work like this? How do I pronounce? How do I read? And now you can actually be auto. You can learn by yourself, but it's very difficult to learn by yourself if you know nothing at all. But once you have good knowledge, then you can keep exploring by yourself. So we arrive from 0, not to perfect fluency, but from 0 to I no longer need people to come with me to my doctor's appointments, because I know how to do it myself.
When you do the programs with a more in-depth, is it groups or is it one-on-one?
Groups, and we do everything in groups.
Okay, so it's basically like teaching a class, but online.
It is like teaching. You come to class, there is me. I'm the teacher of all my courses. I keep that for myself. And then there are 20 students. We have the board. We teach. Today we're going to focus on pronunciation of the consonants and the vowels. We teach that class in depth. We have a book. We have homework. We come back next week. It's like I'm very traditional too in my way of teaching,
Well, you said you're very type A, so I can see that.
Yeah. And you know what I found out is that people that are like over 40, not everybody, but like my Latin people, they really like the traditional way of teaching because there are new ways, like a lot of videos and technology, and my students are scared of that. The ones that end up with me is because they want to feel like I go to class, I get my paper and my pen, and somebody's gonna teach me and guide me. And those are my kind of students, because the other ones that know how to do everything on TikTok, they don't need me, you know?
Yeah. What is your podcast about? Tell us about your podcast.
So the podcast is for pronunciation only, because that is the one thing that is the most difficult one.
Yeah.
When you read a word in Spanish, it's actually easy, because if you know the sound of every letter, you just say it all, and no letter is silent. So if I write to you mariposa, you have to say it all. You would say maripo, everything. But in English, there are many silent words and there are combinations. So if we see a word like butterfly, we as Spanish speaker, we will say butterfly, right? And then we have to learn, why does the U just sound ah? Why does the T just sounded like R? Why does the Y just sound like I? People want to know these things, and nobody teaches that because they assume you should know it, but we don't know it. We have no clue. So my podcast is, I'm going to tell you why the U sounds ba, why we say butter, not butter, and because there are rules for every letter in English. There is a rule, and I'm going to tell you how to say that word based on your knowledge of Spanish. So everything is about pronunciation, and people love it because they are like, I tell them, you know a lot of words. People memorize vocabulary lists, but then you say it, nobody understands you because you know the word, but you're not saying it right. You say, my students, for example, say park, park, park. And I say, that's fine, but how do we really say it? We say park, park. We have to, what I tell them, like, we have to add flow to it. We have to add some, you cannot just say, I go to the park. We understand, but it doesn't sound, I go to the park. I go to the park. I go to the park. Like, we have to add. And I'm not saying we're going to add sound like an American. No, we're going to add communication. We're going to add that when you say it, somebody gets it right away, and you don't have to repeat it 10 times, because then your self-esteem decreases. And I want you to be communicating, and I want you to be feeling confident. So I'm going to teach you every word that you only have to say it once. And people love it because they are so used to, like, yes, I have to say it 10 times before they get it.
Totally. It's so funny because my husband will say certain English words, and me and my kids always like laugh at him. We're like, no, it's thunder. It's not thunder. It's thunder.
Yeah, like, put this, but why? See, maybe he says
Totally.
why.
But
Tell
then
him to
I'm like,
listen to my podcast. Tell him to listen to my podcast. I will tell him where to put the teeth, the mouth, when to do it, when not to do it, why. Because sometimes we want to know why. Why? I will explain all the whys. I always say, I'm the teacher of the whys.
I love that so much. What is your biggest success story? Because I'm sure, I mean, obviously you're doing so many, like you're already doing so much work with all of your students. But I would imagine that there's like a few stories that have really make you continue to do this work.
Yes, there is one in particular that I love. It always comes to mind. One of my situations that I teach on my survive in the States is one that, like, people sometimes don't want to talk about uncomfortable things. And one thing is, sometimes you're gonna get stopped by the police. Sometimes you are going to have to call 911. It can happen. You can get in a car accident. People learn to go to a restaurant or to go to a job interview. What about these other things that you're already so nervous? Imagine you're nervous in a restaurant. Imagine how you're gonna feel talking to the police,
Totally.
So one time in class, I taught a survival class for an emergency. So how to call 911, how to call the firefighters, and how to call the police in case that you need help. And it was crazy because I taught that class. I told them how to speak on the phone. They are terrified of speaking on the phone. So I told them, this is what you're going to say if you have to call 911. These are the questions that they're going to ask you. If you know the questions, you're gonna feel more prepared. I taught that class. They were like, okay. That same week, one of my students, who was, by the way, 60 years old, so she was older and was a beginner, but she was a very good student. She actually did her homework, studied, wrote her words. And that week she was on a highway and she was at a light, and there was a lot of smoke coming off her car. And then her car was literally on fire. There was fire coming off her car. And she grabbed her phone and she called 911, and the police came and the firefighters came and they took her out of the car, and the car was completely total. And then she sent me a picture of the car completely burned down. And she told me, thanks to Jesus and you, I am alive right now, because I knew what to say. And especially, I said, you know what? Yes, like, I don't want anyone to die because they are so scared of having a conversation in English. Like, that's crazy. That is crazy. Imagine the amount of things people go through because they're so terrified of saying a word. And for me, I was like, oh, I am not going to stop teaching people words and sentences that can save them in any situation. That's a situation I really love. I have that picture in my office of the burnt car because sometimes you forget. And I was like, no, this is why we're doing this.
Such a good story. I know. I love that you teach situations, because yes, you can teach like everything, which, is important, but like, what is it that you need in your everyday life to be able to communicate to communicate with the person at work, or to communicate with that person at the restaurant or the police. And like, that's so important. And I love that. What else? What's next for you? Like, I feel like you're like one of these people that's just going to keep, you're going to keep feeling inspired. You're going to keep growing. You're going to keep doing things. Like, what's next for you?
So I have a lot of things that I have to perfect right now. I want to just focus on my situations in my intensive classes. I'm also working on citizenship because there's a lot of people that are ready. They're ready to become an American citizen. So what I'm doing right now is keeping an eye. Everything my immigrant people need, if it's related to education and communication, I'm going to build it. So right now, and so this is never going to stop. So right now, for example, truck drivers, now they have to speak English. They are getting in a lot of trouble because of English didn't used to be mandatory, now it's mandatory. So I'm going to make a course for truck drivers. Like, whoever is kind of like overlooked, I'm going to make a course for them. So I'm going to keep adding. I'm going to focus a lot on professional, because a lot of people focus on fancy professions, which this is cool, right? Engineers and pilots. But there are other professions that maybe are not as fancy, but are as equally important. Landscapers, hello, cleaning ladies, Uber drivers, and
Hospitality. I'm in Sonoma County, and we're like one of the biggest hospitality places in the United States. And so many of our employees are, Spanish speakers. So yeah.
I'm gonna keep creating all the educational resources I can for my people in the States. I want to be like the Netflix of Spanish speakers immigrants, that they say, oh, I need this. I know where to go and find it. It's with Erika at Inglés para mi gente. She has it. I want that.
You will. You just put it out in the universe. So I believe that it's
yes.
Where can my listeners find you? Like, you have a website, you have a podcast. Like, tell us where they can find you.
So, okay, this is important. People in Spanish, gente. It's a very important word for us. We repeat it all the time. Every time we come to a place, we say, hello, my people. We always say that. Hola, mi gente. Gente, people. So my website is Inglés para mi gente, which means English for my people. It's written in Spanish, so people know that I am for them. And that's the name that we have everywhere. I was very lucky. I got that name on all the platforms without numbers or anything. So we are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Threads, Spotify, everywhere with the same name, Inglés para mi gente, which means English for my people.
I love that. So not only do you teach all these classes, but are you the person that's putting all this content out on all of these platforms?
Thank God now I have a team. So
Okay,
now I
great.
have, yes, finally, there are five of us. I am the main teacher and I'm always like writing and coming up with new ideas. But now I have a lot of people that help me with the website and editing and social media, especially social media. I have a person who helps me with all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say you could not do all of that. That's crazy.
Mm. Not anymore.
So
I did
much.
it the first 3 years and now can't.
I mean, that's what, as a business owner, I sit in the
Yeah.
same. It's like you kind of just have to do everything. Even for my podcast for 3 years, I was editing and doing all the things, and finally, I'm like, I need a team to be able to do this so
Yes.
I can
Yeah.
grow and do more work. So, yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for doing all this amazing work for our community and for, all the people in our world and making it a better place. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing our stories,